Hello, everyone. Welcome to this expert panel on DeFi and open finance. Welcome to our participants. Thank you so much for taking the time and share with all of us what you're doing and why do you think this space is so exciting. So I will go around the table, the virtual table, and ask you yourselves to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit who you are. So Max, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for the invitation. My name is Maximiliano. I coordinate all the open finance efforts in Aave Labs. Aave Labs manage 3 projects. The first one is RSK. This is a smart contract platform on Bitcoin. The other is RIF. It's a framework of services on the top of RSK. And the third one is Taringa. That is the Hispanic social network, one of the biggest ones. From my side, I'm trying to create an ecosystem on DeFi for Bitcoiners, and that's my job. And most of you, I have talked previously, so it's great to be here talking with you.
Thanks, Max. Nadia.
Hey everyone. Well, I'm Nadia. I work for the Maker Foundation, and my work is to create an ecosystem in Latin America for the solutions of the Maker protocol, and especially DAI. So I do like a lot of stuff, a lot of things. Like, well, I do new partnerships. I help them to create new use cases for DAI inside their business. We think about new integrations and new business models with the help of DAI and all the financial solutions that the Maker protocol provides, because Maker protocol is also a lending and a savings system. So yeah, like our main objective is to educate more people and explain what a stable coin is, what DeFi or decentralized finance can offer to regular people, not just the people who are into crypto, but everyone. And yeah, I have been doing that for almost 3 years, the last 3 years.
Wow, well done. Thank you so much. Carel?
Hi, good day. My name is Carel de Jager. I'm from the Blockchain Academy, which is a company in South Africa. We provide training in blockchain technology from the very basics to the advanced and everything in between. We have quite a few set courses. My job, I try to study this technology on the lowest level that I possibly can. My background's also in engineering. And then I digest the information and I try to present it to people who attend our courses on a much higher level, mostly to corporates, so that they can make informed decisions on whether or not to use this technology within their own organizations. And I'm a big advocate for open public blockchains.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carel, and congratulations for everything you're doing. It's great and also extremely important in Africa, in the same way that Max and Nadia are doing in Latin America. These are the parts of the world that need this technology the most. So congratulations for everything you guys are doing. Alex?
Hi everyone, so I'm Alex, the risk manager of Aave. And so part of my job is actually to bring some of the risk expertise I have as a qualified actuary to the DeFi space and make it a bit more secure and find ways to better assess the risk to make sure that it's safe to use these products.
It's really important. We're going to be talking about security in a while. Very, very important subject. Josh?
Thanks, Gabriel. Great to be here. My name is Josh Goodbody. I'm the Director of Growth for the Binance Group. I am actually originally a lawyer by training, financial markets lawyer. Got fascinated in the blockchain space a couple of years ago. I've held a number of different roles across mainly crypto exchanges. And Binance, as you know, is very active in the DeFi space. We, of course, released our Binance Smart Chain protocol on the 31st of August this year. So it's been a real focus for the company. We are really pushing adoption of the Binance Smart Chain and the wider DeFi ecosystem. So very happy to be here, unpack some of those concepts and talk a little bit more about all things DeFi.
Thank you so much, Josh and Binance for being part of this panel. Let me start now with you, Josh, with the first question. So big part of our audience is just getting across DeFi and open finance for the first time. So how would you explain to someone what is DeFi, what is open finance, why is this important?
Yeah, I think without trying to come out with a bunch of buzzwords and jargon, really trying to distill it down to its basics. So when we talk about things that are related to open finance, what we're really talking about is disrupting the status quo of all things related to finance. It's the disintermediation of the financial ecosystem, stripping out all the layers of middlemen and the layers of institutions that sit within you, the consumer, and the various service providers you use in your day-to-day life. Open finance is a concept that is, completely different from country to country, but traditionally we saw open finance emerge out of open banking, i.e. countries slowly started deregulating their financial markets infrastructure and allowing different service providers to provide elements of the traditional banking world. So now in Europe, via various open banking initiatives, you're able to provide banking-like services out of non-banks, right? So you're able to provide the same banking experience you would have with your traditional bank, but actually doing it out of a non-bank institution. So that's kind of the inception of open banking, which has led us into this kind of wider world of open finance. And this is where blockchain comes in and really disintermediates this as much as it possibly can. DeFi is like, I would say, the hopefully the purest shade on the spectrum of open finance. It really disintermediates all elements of the financial ecosystem and allows you as the end user to retain control of your assets, but interact with other people and other service providers whilst retaining control of those. So you end up being really in the driving seat of interacting with a wider financial ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think a very comprehensive explanation, very clear. Alex, anything to add? What's DeFi for you? And I mean, from any perspective that you want to explain it.
Yeah, I agree with what Josh was saying, but in a way, for me, open finance is kind of the dream state. So that's where we want to go. That's like a permissionless financial system where anyone can access financial services. And so DeFi, it's the execution of this dream on the blockchain. And so actually we can find hurdles of reality that come, and we are finding ways to adapt and to make the dream as real as possible.
Cool. Thank you so much. Carel?
Yeah, I think, in general, people around the world seems to start to get comfortable with the idea of Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is. But, if you think about it and if you talk to people about what Bitcoin is and how it embeds trust within a protocol, they kind of can understand how it can disrupt the retail functions of banking and perhaps the store of value side of it. And, everything that comes with retail as well, including remittances and cross-border payments and those kind of things. But that's kind of where it stops for many people. We know that you guys work on RSK and all those kind of things, but I think it's still a little bit vague to most. But, when you talk about DeFi, it basically disrupts all the remaining functions that a bank can supply us, all of the trading instruments, things that were generally not accessible to, let me say, normal people or the middle class people. If you talk about taking, for instance, high leverage positions in trading and so on, those kind of things are only available to the elite. Let's call them the accredited investors. So, I think it levels the playing field with regards to banking and financial products in total, and I hope we're probably going to talk a little bit more about this in later. But, I listened to a Bankless podcast the other day, and if I can quote them, they used DeFi, they used DAI to pay a graphic designer from America, from the United States, to Nigeria. They got a graphic designer in Nigeria to design them a template for their reports, and they were able to pay this person regardless of whether this person has an identity or a proof of residence, which there's a big chance that this person did not have. So it completely levels the playing field in terms of the labor market, in terms of education, in terms of the financial market. And I think that's the great potential that we have here. In the past, the developed companies had a massive advantage in terms of that, because they could transact and deal with each other because they all complied to the global KYC and AML regulation that we've become so used to. But that kind of it kind of pushed the developed companies or the third world companies to the side, and they could not compete on the same playing field. So now it's all changed. I mean, with the birth of the internet, it kind of gave us the first step into that direction. But now we can actually transact and send money across borders as if they don't exist, and that's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Carel. It's interesting because since the creation of Bitcoin, when we started talking about an open financial system, decentralized finance, we were thinking about bringing basic financial services to the billions that are currently excluded from the system. And you're adding something interesting, which is that in the same way that basic financial services could be brought with blockchain technology to billions of new users, complex derivatives that were only used by elites now can be made accessible to the more general public, which is kind of the same flow with a higher level of complexity. So yeah, very interesting. Nadia, what's DeFi for you? How do you explain it to someone that doesn't know what it is?
For me, it's an option, and I like to say it like an option. I'm not at all a maximalist on it. I like to see it as an option when you want to save the value of your money and you don't trust in your local currency, you don't trust in fiat. I see it as an option when you want to send money abroad or you want to receive a payment, and as Carel said, and you're working for someone in another country. I also see it like an option of investment. I don't want to put my money in the bank because I think I have to pay a lot to the third parties for fees. So it's a distributed financial world where I can choose wherever I want to put my money and like verify where is my money. So I see it like a more transparent and open option for everyone in the world. That's how I see this DeFi ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Max?
Yeah, I agree with all of you. From my side, when sometimes I try to explain a non-crypto user about DeFi or open finance, and I try to say it's just to try to understand is as a traditional financial service, but no need of asking permission to someone, no need of KYC, no need to trust in someone else. Just if you want to do remittances or wanted to use financial services, just it's an alternative. And I think that when you offer an alternative, you are offering freedom, because now you have only the traditional financial system with the best of them and with the worst of them. But the just opportunity to offer an alternative, it's just we are adding value to millions of users. That's what I think.
I love it. And now that you mentioned freedom, I will go back to Josh and start a circle again. I'm sure, guys, it happens to you all the time that when we meet with friends that work in a different industry, I won't mention any other industry, but they see the way how passionate we are about this and how excited we are. And that is sometimes difficult to understand from someone that is not into this ecosystem, seeing the future being built every day. So I would like to hear in your own words, and we can start by you, Josh. Why is this revolutionary? If you have to explain to someone that is, developing websites or, doing any other kind of thing, why is this revolutionary, and what excites you the most about this industry or what it can accomplish?
Yeah. I mean, where do we start in terms of, why is this revolutionary? There are so many angles of attack you could take here, but, applying this to where I came from, I used to be a commodities lawyer. In fact, I started out my career as a commodities lawyer just after the 2008 crash. And, we saw boom and bust across various elements of the financial market space. And I was specifically focusing on commodities then. And just stepping back now and looking back at this ecosystem that we built to facilitate the trading of commodities and commodity derivatives, the massive costs associated with simple things like providing margin and providing essentially trade finance, providing settlement, providing trade reconciliations, and all the associated regulatory obligations that, to be fair, in many cases are necessary. But all of the associated layers upon layers upon layers of complexity and bureaucracy that have been built on top of these financial systems. And you compare that system, the trading of, coffee beans on an exchange, the cost associated with that. And then you look at what you can achieve via decentralized finance, where you can provide the leverage, you can provide the liquidity, you can provide the means of settlement, you can provide the trade transparency and reconciliation. A fraction of the cost, and literally a fraction of the cost. And so, when I sit down with my friends that are still slogging away in the traditional finance sector, and they say, what on earth are you? What is this thing that you're talking about, DeFi? How does this thing work? What's sushi? What's Uniswap? What's all of this nonsense? And then you break it down to them, and then they go, hold on. So I can move tens of millions of dollars to finance a trade, and the cost to me would be a couple of dollars versus what I'm paying now, which is, $50,000 of legal fees on top of all of the associated infrastructure costs. And when you boil things down to the actual practical costs, and you do a cost comparison in certain scenarios of the financial space, you really see quite clearly how the decentralized finance space across the spectrum of DeFi, right? Because we've got different shades of DeFi, from pure DeFi, where people are completely disintermediated, to other shades of DeFi that may look and feel a bit more centralized. Across that spectrum, you see a really powerful example of cost savings, transparency, and speed. So if I look at the traditional financial markets and I try and abstract some of the core efficiencies and benefits that blockchain technology can bring to those markets, and then try and further disintermediate that by applying the decentralized finance methodologies to them, not centralized finance, decentralized finance, you start to see pretty revolutionary things that can be achieved. And, we're right at the beginning stage of this. This is all experimental stuff that's being built, all of the various automated market making technology, decentralized exchanges. It's all very, very early stage and at its nascent level. But nonetheless, it shows.
So Josh, so what you're saying is that the revolutionary part would be the automation and programmability that translates into driving costs down, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to boil it down. Absolutely, driving costs down through automation, disintermediation, and frankly, having an open financial ecosystem that people can build on top of in a permissionless way.
Cool. Thank you so much, Alex. Why do you think DeFi and open finance are revolutionary? Why are we so passionate about it, do you think?
Well, you know, actually what brought me into DeFi in the first place was seeing all the inefficiencies of the legacy system when I was working in the insurance industry, and, you know, seeing all these inefficiencies that could be solved with the shared database that is the blockchain, and that is really good at maintaining information up to date. And now, as I've been working in the space for the last 3 years, you know, for me, the revolution is really that anyone can access the most complex financial product. So today there is a blocker, is that you need to know how to program. So there is still a lot of skills needed to access those products. But for me, the revolution will arrive once there is user interfaces that really allow anyone to do it. But to give you an idea of what's possible, for example, so at Aave, we have this product called a flash loan. So it's a loan where you can borrow all the excess liquidity of the protocol. That means that right now there's about $1 billion that can be borrowed within one single transaction by anyone, even if you don't have it. Like if you have very little money, you can access these kind of funds to create complex operations. And you know, in the financial system as it is today, very, very few people have that kind of means. So yeah, it's a real revolution.
Yes, it sounds very scary as well, no? It's but I guess we need to get used to these new tools. What I like about what you said, Alex, is that I mean, this technology is revolutionary, but also the bar was very low before. No, when we see the financial system, it had like 100 years with very little innovation. So there's a big part of it that is just other technologies that have moved forward in the last couple of decades, and just banking stayed what it was. Carel, what do you think DeFi and open finance are revolutionary?
Well, I think, you know, in general, self-sovereignty is a very beautiful thing. You know, where you were born is just basically the luck of the draw. You know, if I think about it, us here in South Africa and you guys in Latin America, you know, we didn't really win the geographical lottery in that sense, you know, and it's just sheer luck about where you were born. And it makes such a big difference in your opportunities and what you can achieve in life. Even if you have an ambition, it's like this block, this barrier that you can't get over. And DeFi completely breaks down those barriers, and that's really what's beautiful. If I can repeat what I said earlier, it levels the playing field. You know, like Josh also mentioned, traditional finance, especially in the digital era, trust has become a commodity. You know, if all these massive financial institutions, whether they're insurance or banking or whatever institution they might be within finance, they sell us trust. That's their main product. All right. Even if you're a lawyer who transfers assets, you sell trust. That is your product. And the margins that you make on those that product is infinite, because it doesn't cost you anything to produce that trust. If you think about it from a philosophical point of view. So, you know, it's like when you do a transaction, the bank will charge you a percentage fee. Although they have a fixed cost, more or less the same as the cost of sending an email to clear that transaction. Although you pay a percentage fee as part of, you know, depending on how big the size of your transaction is. So, you know, it's a very, very unfair system. These barriers have been built up purposefully, so to exclude people that cannot bring substantial revenue to these institutions. And the beautiful thing about DeFi is that it brings power to the people. It makes you self-sovereign. And that is, I think that's why, Gabriel, we are so passionate about it, is because we can we really see the possibilities, and we just wish that everyone could see the possibilities and the massive change, which will probably be bigger than what the internet brought us, that we will see in this world.
Cool. Thank you so much, Carel. Nadia?
Well, I guess what excites me the most about DeFi is the speed of the community in general, of the ecosystem. Like I find amazing how in 2 years all the DeFi ecosystem has evolved, and you can like see new projects every 1 or 2 weeks and creating new features and offering new services. Alex knows it. I'm a super fan of Aave and all these new financial services that they are bringing to the ecosystem. I love it. And this is because the composability of the services that we created, because everything is open. So you don't have to create your services from scratch. You just have to reuse what is already working. And I think that's amazing. And also I think we are like breaking like the established rules by the system, thinking in a decentralized world. So we are creating new services based on transparency and based on, oh, sorry, I'm having internet, my connection of the internet is like.
Yeah. Happens, everyone. If you want to turn on your camera, maybe we can get your audio, Nadia. Let's move to Max. Fix it. Why do you think this is revolutionary, Max? What drives your passion about this?
Yeah, I'm from Argentina. Argentina suffered a big economic crisis for 10 years, but terrible crisis. And the trust you gave to the governments or companies, and the lack of trust is terrible, because you give them your money, all your efforts to them, and in 10 years you lose that. So now I'm excited about building an alternative, building a different economic circuit where you own your value. You do not depend on third parties. This is the first one, but also I'm really excited about the momentum. We are lucky because we are in the beginnings of this, and this is really exciting. And other things that I really enjoy is bringing non-crypto users in this type of financial services, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's. I think you guys have summarized it beautifully, and why this is so revolutionary, because we discussed about how this can disintermediate, reduce cost, lower barriers to entry, as Carel said. Let us build revolutionary new technology and let it combine with each other. So we have now DAI working with Aave, and also DAI integrated in Ethereum with RSK, and taking it to the masses, as Max was saying. I think we all agree that this is not built for a very small amount of savvy tech users or wealthy individuals in the world. This is only going to become revolutionary if it can reach the masses, especially those who are not being properly served by the current system that has all the problems that Alex was saying. So now I would like to go around the table very quickly. What's your favorite use case? If you need to pick one, and I know it's super difficult, it might exist, or is something maybe that no one has ever done yet, and maybe someone in the audience wants to give it a try. So anything that you really like, or you think is special for any reason, or something that you would like to see in the space. Nadia, do you want to start?
Well, yeah, I'm a super fan of DAI, of course. I love DAI because we have a decentralized stablecoin. Like, we are creating something new, transparent, and also it's a basket of collaterals. We are like bringing the community to propose new collaterals, deciding with the community the risk parameters of those collaterals, and like working all together on the building of this stable coin. So I love it not just because of what it represents, that is, well, a stable coin pegged to the dollar, but also because the DAO part, where the community helps us to build the solution. So I really love it. And also my experience with DAI, as I said, I have been working for the foundation for the last 3 years, is that I have seen how different new projects started using DAI as a base, because maybe in the past it was harder to think about new DeFi protocols or services if you had a cryptocurrency, a volatile cryptocurrency. So one of my favorite projects that started with DAI was Pull Together, like these non-losers, just winners lottery. I found this project like very disruptive and creative, and now they are like evolving to a way to save your money in the future, because you just like buy a ticket with DAI, for example, and if you're lucky, you're going to win, I don't know, maybe 10,000 DAI, but if not, they will give your money back. So it's like a way to save money for the future. So I really like it. Yeah, and yes, well, I'm amazed about all these new DeFi projects that we are all seeing every week.
Thank you. What's the name of this project again? The one you just mentioned?
Pull Together.
Pull Together. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Josh, any use case or application?
Yeah, I think
like.
To Nadia's point about DAOs, I think philosophically it's a fantastic innovation, and it showcases the kind of community spirit that many of us kind of entered the blockchain space to be a part of. Being able to have a skin in the game and being able to really influence the outcome. And the DAO, I think, is super exciting. And the constant evolution of the DAO, actually, with project after project evolving how DAOs are managed. But picking up on another area, the development of AMMs, so automated market makers, is an area, I think, that is really driving forward a massive amount of innovation in the DeFi space. And the AMM functionality can power different use cases. It can power token swaps. It can power yield generation. It's kind of like the engine of growth for many different DeFi projects. So I think the AMM is an area that lots of people don't fully understand underpins a lot of the DeFi space. And the reason I find it so impressive and the different iterations on AMMs is because it allows people to use their crypto assets in a constructive way and generate passive income or yield on their assets in different risk-adjusted ways. So you can choose to stake your assets in a super risky protocol and you'll get high rewards for it. It might be unaudited. It might be initiated by a team that haven't revealed themselves publicly, i.e. no publicly named founders, down to slightly more, should we say, not riskless, but less risky protocols where you can participate in yield farming of some kind. So the AMM for me is a really exciting tool that I think we're going to see iterations of, and people are slowly working out ways to really de-risk some of the systemic things that come with AMMs, whether it's making sure that there's more of a focus on getting the code reviewed by third-party auditors, simple things like that that de-risk the entire framework. So for me, pointing at AMMs is a clear kind of area of fascinating development and growth.
Interesting. Thank you so much. And I think we should tell our audience with this comment that the best investment you can do is in education. So don't put any of your money in any product or solution that you do not understand in depth. So be very careful. By far, the most exciting thing is the technology that is being developed in these protocols. I guess you all. I agree with this. Alex, any use case on top of Aave, which everyone loves, but you personally say, you know, this is something that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the use cases, I mean, sorry, I mean, I am an expert in the credit space on the blockchain, so it's again linked to credit, but you know, in our modern economies, actually, credit fuels countries, companies, and now the credit space on the blockchain has been growing really fast. So that's we're starting to see now a lot of real-world assets that get tokenized on the blockchain. And so currently, most of the credit on the blockchain is collateralized credit, where you can use an asset to safeguard your loan. And so that also exists in the financial industry, but usually it's similar to a mortgage, and then more sophisticated products are only accessible for very few individuals or high net worth families. And
Have we lost Alex? I think so. So let's move to Carel, and then we're going to continue with Alex. Any use case, Carel, that you find super exciting?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole space is super exciting, but for me, the most exciting part, the coolest part of DeFi is where we start moving into the space where, you know, we build applications that were never possible within traditional finance, you know, that we could have never even imagined. And the one that stands out for me in terms of that is uncollateralized loans in an adversarial environment where you don't have a reputation as well. I mean, could you have ever imagined that something like that is possible? And we see that with flash loans, of course. So yeah, definitely flash loans is by far for me the most exciting use case of this. And I would like to see that progress even further. Like Alex also mentioned, using different kinds of collateral, but also I can't wait to see other ways that we're going to figure out to get loans without any collateral. I mean, that is really remarkable for me.
Thanks, Carel. Let's go back to Alex now that she's back. So you were saying that the credit space is super exciting.
Yeah, sorry, I got cut out, but Carel continued on the same idea. So yeah, Carel, you'll be happy to learn about the credit delegation that's already starting to take place in Aave. And so this means basically that if you have a trusted network that trusts you to a certain point where they're willing to lend you their credit facility, you could borrow without any collateral. And so this is really interesting because it's got a strong potential to bridge traditional finance, which has pre-established trust networks, with blockchain, and so leverage kind of real-world assets and financial institutions and link them to the blockchain and let them use all their assets and create new types of relationships and new types of financial products around that.
Yeah, the implications of lending a reputation to someone that doesn't have any credit rating. I mean, the impact that it could have in the world, no? It's amazing. Thanks,
incredible.
Alex. Max, what drives you crazy? What use case do you
at this
see
moment
right now?
At this moment, I think that crypto-backed stablecoins is a building block for new financial products, and also just to get new users, you know, to just working on the mass adoption at this momentum. And just on the other hand, as Sean said, I'm very fun about AMMs. I love Uniswap. You know, I think that it's an amazing product. The engine, how they thought the product, I think it's marvelous. So I would choose those use cases.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm really looking forward to start seeing stable coins from emerging market fiat currencies. No, we were talking about the South African rand, no, an Argentine peso, Brazilian real. So people can start using them for everyday use and to buy stuff on the street. No, not only as a hedge for financial markets and more complex use cases. So now let's go on to the other side. Which are the major hurdles for DeFi or open finance to get mass adoption? If there are any, I think we all believe that in the long term, this is the path going forward, and you know, sooner or later we're gonna get there. But if you need to identify a few areas that if we could have more innovation or more power, more lobby, more luck, this could accelerate mass adoption. What do you think, Josh, that these areas would be?
Yeah, great question. Usability is a hurdle that we constantly see in DeFi. You know, when we build as a company, we try and make things as easily usable as possible. And you know, we've had challenges building, for example, our decks in a way that mimics, from a usability perspective, from a look and feel perspective, our centralized exchange. And the closer they are, the more usable they are in the eyes of our consumers and our users. So we really focused on usability as a core area when we build our products and services. Now, if we zoom out and look at the wider ecosystem, you know, why have we seen this massive boom this year in DeFi? There's lots of diverging views, but in my personal view, it's because of the yields that we have seen across the space, some of which have been wild and some of which have been unsustainable. But that doesn't matter. That's got people's interest, you know, in the space. It's piqued their interest. They've started dabbling in the DeFi space, and they're experimenting with different products and services that are out there. So the yield has got people in the door, and now people are starting to understand all of the kind of downstream, upstream use cases that can be built using this technology. But one of the core things that stops people from using it is they almost have to be technologists to use some of these things. So one example, you look at the usability and the UX of Uniswap, and then you compare that with the usability and the UX of something like maybe Curve Finance or some of the other kind of copycats that came out after that. And they're night and day. You know, one is easy to use, another isn't easy to use. And some of the user experience is a little bit touch and go. It's difficult linking your wallet to it. So if we're already taking users that are, for example, just entering the crypto space, understanding what crypto assets are, how to hold their own keys, or perhaps not, as the case may be, hold them on exchanges. If we're dealing with that being the majority of the customer segment that we're trying to get involved in the space, if we're not making DeFi products and services easily accessible and usable, we're going to have a real challenge of getting people to adopt them in their day-to-day life. So I think the concept of holding your own keys for a lot of people sounds great, but in practice can be quite intimidating. So usability, UX being as simple and intuitive as possible is the key thing that I believe will unlock the DeFi space to a wider audience.
Completely agree. Nadia, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with Josh. I think the same. Actually, we have been very focused on educating people about DeFi and DAI, but that's not the solution. The solution is like create awesome products, like have awesome people, like product owners thinking about the service people need and not thinking about the technology of it. So yeah, we have to, like, we have a long way on that sense. And also what I have seen, at least in Latin America, is regulators. Regulators are other important thing for crypto to become mainstream or DeFi, like being used massively. Because at least in Latin America, like every country has its own government with its own currency, its own regulation, and it's difficult to think like in a global financial service solution with global currencies. And also we have to explain to these regulators how crypto works and create like laws that are logic and can be applied to the solutions that we are building. So I think we have these two big problems in our hands: regulators and usability.
I completely agree, and also it drives me crazy. As Carel said before, especially in Latin America and Africa, where we're clearly not the winners of the traditional financial system, where we have nothing to lose. Our regulators should be the ones promoting this. You know, it's like, let's make sure that companies and entrepreneurs and projects in our region build the future of the internet value. No, let's be key players in this. But it seems that sometimes the central authorities in the US or Europe or Japan, Australia are way more proactive to disrupt the financial system than we in Latin America and Africa, which is crazy. So completely agree with what you were saying, Nadia. Alex, what do you think are the major hurdles for mass adoption of this technology? And please say something about security.
Yeah, well, I agree with Nadia in the sense that you know, the lack of regulation impacts strongly the perception, the mainstream perception of crypto. And actually, when you work in the space, I mean, we're all super excited. We see all these complex products, all these new tools, but for a mainstream user or non-user, what do they see in the news? They see, oh, the news of the hacks, oh, like all those negative tools, and so that creates quite a negative perception. So I think there's a lot of work to be done around trust and brand trust, where you know, we have to find a way to show all the positive, because you know, yes, there are security concerns, but actually, when people put hundreds of millions of dollars in a few hours in an unaudited contract, you know, that's not just a security. That means that they don't care about security. You know, like some users are taking really high risks, and it's not all users. You know, I think it's important to distinguish this, because actually there is a large amount of risk in smart contracts that cannot be fully managed, because no matter how many audits, there will always be a risk. But with tools such as, with projects such as MakerDAO or Aave that have been running for months and years, actually the risk, the contract is very battle tested, and so that reduces the risk significantly. And so I think it's really important to communicate more on that as well.
Yes, I agree. But also, I think as an ecosystem, we need to keep in mind that when we say about reaching mass adoption, is reaching a new layer of users that probably cannot afford losing any money. No? So maybe for them, the benefit of having very complex financial services is lower than the cost of losing a little bit of it. So I know it's a big subject to discuss, whether we should adjust security versus complexity of the solutions based on the different audiences that we reach when the ecosystem keeps on growing. Carel, what do you think are the main obstacles or hurdles for DeFi?
Well, I'll have to agree with Josh and Nadia and Alec. I think that you know, the technology is just running away. It's running away from everyone. It's definitely running away from what we consider the boring stuff, like the UX, and so on. You know, if you think about it, we still to date don't even have a proper UX for multi-signature, for Bitcoin multi-signature. I mean, and that's been around forever. But, you know, it's just moving at such a pace that, you know, the moment it's launched, a couple months later, it's old news and there's something better. And imagine now onboarding someone new to this technology. Imagine having to start off with explaining how Bitcoin works and then moving over to Ethereum and how trust is now, it takes on a new form, and now how you have to try and explain to them how consensus works, and then finally you get to DeFi. that takes days. I mean, it used to be a couple of hours, maybe, that discussion. Now it literally takes days. So, for someone to fully understand, I think it seems to me, at least, as if the people who understands this technology just gets fewer and fewer, because we're just completely running away. And that's the problem with the regulators as well. I mean, they have to start off right at, from the beginning now, and try to understand this technology, and then try to build laws around it. But that's just the product of permissionless innovation. It's actually incredible as well, because anyone can innovate. But remember, if you want to regulate, you have to have a master's degree. You can't be a regulator if you're not don't have a formal education. But if you want to innovate and build something, the world's yours. You can build whatever you want. That's incredible, actually. So I think it's just, this problem is going to be bigger and get bigger and bigger and bigger. The technology is going to run away from those who are not onboarded yet, and it's going to run away even faster from the regulators. So yeah, it's definitely an issue that we should take care of, I think.
Thanks, Carel, and that's why it's so important to have more and more education, companies and projects such as yours, because the technology is getting so complex that we need big professors teaching us about it. Max?
No, I'm agree with all of you. I think that first, of course, the usability and UX is very important, but I think it will be solved. Another hurdle is the scalability. Not also the speed, but also the transaction cost, and it lives outside these financial services traditional users. And we need to consider that. Thirdly, of course, the regulation. The innovation, as Nadia told you, is every 5 days you see a different amazing product. So it's moving faster than the regulation. So it's something we need to be patient and explain and to work on that.
Yeah, completely agree. So now I want to do an experiment. I want to, because I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you before we finish the panel, but we have only a few minutes left. So I will ask you to summarize your question as much as you can, no more than 30 seconds. So a big part of DeFi is decentralization, and we haven't spoken much about it. So I would like to start by you, Max. Why do you think decentralization is important in DeFi and open finance?
First of all, I think that decentralization is a process. Now you don't find a project that is 100% decentralized, and it's okay. It's a matter of time, but if you go on that process, you reduce the risk, of just maybe a government or just shut down your product or to control the value that your product holds, from users. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's crucial to go on that direction. But I think that the ecosystem, all the blockchain organizations have cleared that it's necessary and it's crucial.
Thank you, Carel. Why decentralization is so important?
Decentralization is everything. Sorry, Max.
I agree with you.
Yeah, but to me, I think it's everything. It's what started this. It's if you have a single point of failure, it will fail. It will be shut down. There's no two ways about it. What we are doing here, what we are creating, is not in favor of the powers that be, and the only way that we can survive is through being decentralized.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, exactly as Carel put it. The only way to be unstoppable is to be decentralized. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I think it's an iterative process, so you can't be fully decentralized at once, because then that also carries its own share of risk that you have, no control to adapt, to calibrate to the market or to the way the product is used. But once you achieve decentralization, and we've just released the keys of the Aave protocol. So, this was an 11-month-long process where we felt comfortable that everything was parameterized solidly and working. But yeah, once you're there, you're unstoppable. Now, it's just ongoing forever, the protocol. So
yeah, congratulations! It's a major milestone. So well done, Nadia. What do you think about decentralization? Why it's so important?
Oh, well, like I said at the beginning, I think it's important to have options. So I love that in the space there are decentralized projects and like Aave, like MakerDAO projects that are like depending on the blockchain. But I think it's also important to have like centralized products, because there are people who needs like more help, and like maybe they are not comfortable like with with all the responsibility that decentralization comes with. So I'm a big supporter of decentralization, but I like different options. I think we are creating options, and we have to have decentralized protocols, like centralized protocols like CeFi, and also a mix between both worlds. And then people can choose whatever they want.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that, in that choice is one of the beautiful things that blockchain brings us. Of course, with blockchain technology, you can decentralize as much as you possibly can technologically, but that isn't going to meet the use cases and the preferences of some people who simply want a service that is managed by other people, that is so the security element of it is in the hands of experts. And of course, there will always be points of failure. There will always be weaknesses that people will exploit. But I think we have to realize that there are different customer segments that want different things. So decentralization is massively important. And as a firm, as a company, we're really trying to push that in as many ways as possible, to the point where philosophically we're completely happy if our DEX outperforms our centralized exchange. Will it happen? Not in the near future, because of the way that our centralized exchange functions and performs versus our decentralized exchange. But philosophically, it'd be a wonderful thing to happen. Now, I think that the battle to decentralize more and more will happen fiercely over the course of the next few months and the year to come as well, as people continue to build these disintermediated, decentralized products. And that is very much in line with the core philosophy of the blockchain. So it's great to see.
Thank you so much. Well, it's been an amazing panel. I think we all learned so much from all of you. Thank you very much for sharing your time. Before we finish, I would like to go one more time around the clock, starting by you, Josh, with some final words, tips to entrepreneurs around the world watching this, and where they can contact you in case they want to learn more about your project or get in touch with yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first message that we always say is do your own research. So if you're looking into DeFi and you're interested in investing, in participating in some way, shape or form, do your own research. Be an informed user. And if you're comfortable, there's a lot that you can learn from the Binance Academy, where we've got a wealth of resources and articles about all things related to DeFi. We have a pretty diverse product suite, from token swap functionality for our what's called our Binance Bridge. We of course have our Binance Smart Chain, which has a number of products built on top of it that of course are all listed on Binance as well. So we very much encourage people to come in and have a play. We have a test net as well that you can build on top of. And actually, really importantly, we have, as of a couple of weeks ago, released our $100 million fund to fund development on the Binance Smart Chain. So if you're a new project, if you're an existing project, and you're looking to leverage the benefits that come with building on a relatively frictionless and cheap, from a transaction perspective, blockchain, we are a natural home for you, and we will help incubate you, and will of course help fund you. So that's an area that we're really trying to stimulate developer participation. So if you're interested, do reach out. You can get in contact with me on Twitter at Josh Goodbody. I'm more or less on 24 hours a day, unfortunately. So do reach out, do ping us a message, and we're always happy to have a conversation about ways that we can build together and work together.
Thank you so much, Josh. Nadia? I think Nadia is frozen, so let's go to Alex.
Yeah, so I want to tell to everyone who's curious about blockchain and DeFi. Now in the UK, we've just entered the lockdown, so this is the perfect time. You have hours to like study, read about it. There's infinite amount of content, so just make sure you find kind of good curated resources, because otherwise you can kind of get lost in it. And yeah, create a Twitter account, look at what's going on, because a lot of information is shared on Twitter. So you can follow Aave on Twitter, for example, to have all the updates. And when you feel ready, join a hackathon, because hackathons are where all the minds come together, and whichever your profile, developer, graphic designer, business, you'll find a team with different skills, and you'll learn in a weekend more than you have learned in months.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. Nadia, final words, and where people contact you if they want to learn more about Maker and DAO.
Yeah, well, what I have seen being have been working with Latin America is that any DeFi project around the world can find users in LATAM. So I'm inviting all you DeFi projects all around the world to come to LATAM and think about a use case for Latin American people, because you will find users that are not just the small crypto Twitter audience, but a more broader audience, because, well, we need these kind of products here. And also what I'm seeing is that DeFi, because of this usability thing that we talked before, DeFi is like a backend to me. So I'm inviting like startups or fintech companies here in LATAM who understand the audience and understand the needs of we in Latin America to create these new interfaces that can connect and integrate with this awesome DeFi world in the back, and create new great products and services. And how to contact me? Well, you can find us on Twitter, the Maker account, and also you can write me, Nadia at MakerDAO.com. I'm always open to help you to come into this DeFi ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Carel?
Yeah, you know, if you Google blockchain and crypto related terms, you'll find that there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of scams. You know, so it's difficult to find a good quality information if you want to educate yourself. Of course, we know that everyone on this panel, and I know the Binance Academy is doing excellent work and so on. But you know, that's also where we come in, and we provide that education more in person than online. So we do it online, of course, but in person. And yeah, so please, if you want to know more about this, well, the best way to learn, first of all, is to actually use it. If you want to learn about DeFi, go get some Ether, go stake it, get yourself some DAI on the other side, and you know, and go on Uniswap and swap your assets for another, and actually use it. And if you are technically, if you are a techie, then go and program a flash loan and actually use. That's the best way to learn. Then the second best way is to actually attend the class and get yourself educated. So yeah, I do encourage everyone to do it. Be part of the future. Take the power in your hands and take this ride along with us. I will post our contact details now. It's the Blockchain Academy in South Africa. There is one in America as well, But we are the blockchainacademy.co.za. That's our URL, and we are on all the social medias as well.
Thank you so much, Carel. Max?
Yeah, I like the comment from Carel. The best way to learn is use products. Try them. If you have some satoshis and you want to try DeFi on Bitcoin, the best way is to use it. And we are ready to support you. You can contact us. I share our contacts, our Twitter accounts. We are ready to help you. And on the other hand, if you have a product and want to build DeFi solution, same thing. We help developers and projects in every step, from the idea to helping with the marketing, connecting with different projects to integrate them, and also with funding. So you have our Twitter accounts. You can reach us, and we are happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Max. And I think this final point about interoperability that you were saying, I think it's also very important, no, for the DeFi or open finance as a whole. The more the projects get connected, the more the blockchains are intertwined, the more secure and anti-fragile the whole ecosystem builds. I'm a big fan of all of your projects. Big fan of Maker integrating on RSK DAI as well. So thank you so much, Nadia, and the whole team. And really looking forward to see also Aave on RSK soon, hopefully. So thank you so much, all of you, for teaching us so much about DeFi. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.